My aunt posted a video with my parents, which made me realize that they considered me an ungrateful freeloader, despite the fact that I paid for their comfortable life. So, I cut off all contact with them and stopped the money train. You will not expect what they will do. I'm Cameron, and I grew up in the shadow of a star. That star was my older sister, Lily. Our house was always filled with people, aunts, uncles, cousins, you name it. They'd pour into our backyard like ants to a picnic, drawn by the promise of my mom's famous barbecue and the chance to see Lily perform. Our backyard was like a stage, with its neatly trimmed lawn and the big oak tree that provided the perfect backdrop. Dad would fire up the grill, the smell of charcoal and sizzling meat filling the air, while Mom bustled around making sure everyone had a drink in hand. "Lily, sweetie." Aunt Marge would call out, her voice cutting through the chatter, "Why don't you give us a little song?" And just like that, all eyes would turn to my sister. Lily would hop onto a chair, her golden curls bouncing, a mischievous glint in her eye. She'd clear her throat dramatically, and then magic, "My heart will go on and on," she'd warble, doing her best Celine Dion impression. The adults would go wild, clapping and cheering like they were at a real concert. Mom and Dad would beam with pride, Dad often wiping a tear from his eye. Meanwhile, I'd be off to the side, trying to blend in with the bushes. It's not that I didn't want to join in, but every time I opened my mouth to sing, it sounded like a cat being strangled. And poetry? Forget about it. The words would tangle on my tongue, leaving me red-faced and stammering. I've heard my relatives whisper that I'm so unlike my sister. It wasn't just the relatives, Mom and Dad made it clear who the star of the family was. While Lily got shuttled from dance classes to singing lessons to art workshops, I was left to my own devices. Not that I minded much, I found solace in the dusty old books that lined our shelves. The only person who seemed to get me was Great Aunt Maggie. She'd find me hiding behind the garage or up in the treehouse, nose buried in a book. "What adventure are you on today, Cameron?" she'd ask, settling down beside me. I'd look up, grateful for the interruption. "Oh, just reading about ancient Egypt," I'd say, showing her the cover of my latest find. Maggie would nod, her eyes twinkling. "You've got a good head on your shoulders, girl. Don't let anyone tell you different." Those moments with Maggie were like a balm to my soul. She didn't expect me to perform or be anyone other than who I was. With her, I could just be Cameron, the quiet, bookish girl who preferred the company of paper and ink to the chaos of family gatherings. But as much as I cherished those moments, they couldn't erase the sting of being the forgotten child. Every time Lily mastered a new song or won another award, my parents would shower her with praise and gifts, new clothes, the latest gadgets, you name it, Lily got it. And me? I got hand-me-downs and sighs of exasperation. School became my sanctuary. While I wasn't exactly Miss Popularity, I found my groove in the classroom. I wasn't content to just sit there and let the lessons wash over me. No, I was determined to understand every single thing the teacher said. "Mrs. Thompson," I'd say after class, my voice quiet but steady, "could you explain that bit about mitosis again?" I didn't quite get it. She'd smile, obviously pleased by my interest. "Of course, Cameron. Why don't we go over it together?" If a teacher couldn't spare the time, I'd ask for book recommendations. Soon, my backpack was always bulging with extra reading material. I'd stay up late, poring over those books, determined to master every subject. All that hard work paid off. By the time I hit high school, I was top of my class. For once in my life, I was the best at something. I even made a few friends, other bookworms who didn't mind my quiet ways. As graduation approached, our house became Lily Central. Mom was constantly helping her put together her portfolio for the advertising and PR program at some fancy college. "Oh honey, this campaign idea is perfect." Mom would gush, looking at Lily's work. "You're so talented." I'd roll my eyes and retreat to my room, burying myself in my studies. But one night, during yet another family dinner devoted to Lily's college plans, something in me snapped. "I'm going to college too," I blurted out. "I want to study management." The silence that followed was deafening. Then, to my shock and hurt, they all burst out laughing. "Oh sweetie," Mom said, wiping tears from her eyes, "we don't have money for that. You'll need to get a job after graduation. You're just not as gifted as your sister." I felt like I'd been slapped. But I'm the top student in my class," I stammered, my face burning with anger and embarrassment. "I get straight A's." I stormed up to my room and came back with my report card, slamming it on the table. They all leaned in to look, their eyes widening in surprise. "Well, I'll be damned," Dad muttered, scratching his head. "When did this happen?" "It's been happening for years," I spat, "not that any of you ever noticed." Mom at least had the decency to look ashamed. "Cameron, we had no idea," but Dad cut her off. "Look, it doesn't change anything. We've spent all our savings on Lily's education. There's nothing left for you, Cameron. I'm sorry, but that's just how it is. You'll go to work at my cousin Frank's restaurant after graduation." I turned and ran, ignoring their calls. I sprinted up the stairs into my room, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. As I collapsed onto my bed, sobs racking my body, I felt something inside me harden. Fine, I thought, my hands clenching into fists. If they won't help me, I'll find another way. I'll show them all what Cameron can do. The next few months were a blur. Lily headed off to college, her departure marked by tearful goodbyes and proud parental embraces. Meanwhile, I threw myself into my studies with renewed vigor, determined to graduate at the top of my class. During this time, I found myself spending more and more time with Great Aunt Maggie. Her small, cozy house became my refuge from the tension at home. One afternoon, as we sat in her sunlit kitchen sipping tea, she asked the question I'd been dreading. "So, Cameron," she said, her kind eyes fixed on me, "what are your plans after graduation?" I stared into my teacup, fighting back tears. I don't know, Aunt Maggie. Mom and Dad won't help me with college. They say there's no money left after paying for Lily's education. Maggie was quiet for a moment, then reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "Cameron, dear, I've got some savings. I'd like to give them to you for college. You're smart as a whip, and I'll be damned if I let that brain of yours go to waste." The reality of her words hit me like a tidal wave. I burst into tears, overwhelmed by her generosity and the sudden realization that my dreams weren't dead after all. "Thank you," I sobbed, throwing my arms around her. "Thank you so much, Aunt Maggie." Now you can watch the second part by pressing share and more.